Hello, YouTube. It's me, ZacsNotDead. I'm sitting here with Big Texas Gravy, and we're about to watch a little WhatCulture gaming video that released a little less than 2 weeks ago. 13 days ago, might I believe. Alright, anyway, it is titled Mortal Kombat is in Serious Trouble. And I'm always a fan of delving deep into these things and also seeing what somebody who's so mainstream in the gaming space and journalistic space, what they have to say about Mortal Kombat 1. You know what I mean? Because I feel like they're going to be more so casual outside eyes than it is going to be that person who's like lives, breathes, eats, shits Mortal Kombat. So earlier today, we were testing the stream, and this is a part of said test. We're going to make sure all of this works. So this is a WhatCulture video.
With Mortal Kombat for quite some time, the development hell stories of how NetherRealm had to... Something's been off with Mortal Kombat for quite some time. The development hell stories of how NetherRealm had to pivot back onto this game from initially working on Injustice 3, the attempt at a total reboot that once we played the story became the same multiverse framework Mortal Kombat 11 was already leaning into. The lackluster sales compared to MK11, the overpriced and underwhelming skins, removed features like the iconic fighter towers and the crypt, or even wider gear customization and a DLC that costs $50/£50, giving you 3 awesome new characters, but the worst story expansion in Mortal Kombat history. All of this led to premium DLC Chaos Reigns massively underselling. Chances are you didn't even realize it came out in September 2024, with how lukewarm everything now feels around Mortal Kombat. And word from trusted leaker Fate Unknown is that Mortal Kombat's future DLC plans are now cancelled altogether. This comes after Ed Boon said Mortal Kombat 1 would be their most supported game yet, as clearly the wider landscape in gaming favors, at least from the publisher side, live services and...
Granted, during MK11, there was fucking the COVID-19 shit, right? So, like, COVID lockdowns and all that were in place. They couldn't do as much with the game as they had planned on doing, but they still delivered way more than what we received in Mortal Kombat 1. Way more. But I will say, Ed Boon says that shit every new game. We're going to support this longer than any previous game. It's just kind of the regurgitated thing. You know what I mean? And people want that. You know, that's why he says it. I'm not like saying it's not something people want. You know, you only need the game to be so graphically pretty. You know what I mean? I'd rather have like a super balanced game that had years to be able to get the balance right, but also had years to implement more features and more characters and more this, more that. You know what I mean? Let's make a new Mortal Kombat every 5 years. Enough of this every 2-year thing. This last time it was every 4. They had twice the development time, and they delivered 1/5 the product. So it's just kind of like nobody wants to give them more time at this point. You know what I mean? We gave you guys twice the time before, and you ripped us off. So why would we give you even more time? You know, it's kind of like MK1 sullied a lot of good faith that people had in the product, and they just, they're not buying into it. They're not pre-ordering stuff anymore. Chaos Reigns sold poorly because people felt like they got ripped off from the initial purchase of Mortal Kombat. You can't have people who still feel ripped off from their initial purchase and then ask them for $50 more for DLC in a game they feel is incomplete still. That's ridiculous. That's stupid. That's dumb. Only people with actual expendable income or no impulse control is buying that. Or someone's buying it for someone as a gift. Anyway.
Constant playtime across years, but there's only so much that a fan base will take when they're being so mistreated. The crux of why it's all fallen apart is pure publisher greed from the Warner Brothers side. The same feeling felt like it was encroaching in MK11 with the challenge towers encouraging microtransaction spending to get through them, but that was called out and addressed as soon as possible after launch. NetherRealm even came out and said, look, that was not the association that we were going with. We'll fix it, we'll tweak it.
I remember that hate. That hate was real. That hate was visceral. People were very upset when the game released. I think they had thought people were going to use the consumables and have fun with consumables. People just skipped right over the consumable stuff. So when they were going in to fight in Towers of Time, and it was so difficult because your enemy had all these modifiers, but you didn't have anything backing you up. People just wanted to go in there and fight and learn with their characters, but you couldn't really do that. You needed consumables to be able to beat these towers, even some of the easier ones. And so people were upset that NRS made towers extremely difficult in the same game that they unveiled the skip fight token, and people could buy the skip fight tokens. So people were very upset that NRS was screwing over the game and its consumers to make the game just wildly difficult in order for them to purchase these skip fight tokens. It didn't really end up what it ended up happening. People got very upset. The game dialed back its difficulty, but the hatred towards microtransactions in that game never dwindled. Any new pack would come out and people would be like, already paid for the main thing. Why are you making me pay more for this or whatever else, right? It just was unwarranted, honestly. The hate for MK11 was ridiculous. Everyone was stuck in their homes with COVID lockdowns, and they all wanted to hate fuck the same thing, I guess, right? Anyway, that's my opinion. I think if it wasn't for COVID, not just would we have had a better game because they would have been able to be in the studio and there wouldn't have been that transition from work at home and all that, but the public perception would have been better as well because you wouldn't have had everybody sitting there, I don't know, sulking. But maybe the game wouldn't have sold as well either.
We hear you. We're not just in this game to get as much money from you as possible. Here, though, WB are leeching as much money from fans as they can, for reasons I'll get to in a moment. But MK1's monetization and aggressively insulting price tags have left their mark. Where Mortal Kombat 11 would sell you 3 skins for around £5 or $6, MK1 wants $10 per skin. There was the sour taste of already having to pay or grind out currency for Shang Tsung at launch last year, and the overall...
Outside of that one skin, those packs usually came with 3 unique pieces of gear because there was 3 gear slots for the characters, right? Now it's 1 gear. It's far less content, and they're charging far more.
Amount of grinding required overall to access anything customizable is another negative. Customization here is honestly such a ridiculous letdown, and I need to break this down in a few different ways because I can't believe they dropped the ball so much after MK11 did it so well. Because even if you do get stuck into the framework on offer, the majority of skins and customization look terrible. Where MK11 let you swap out 3 pieces of individual gear,
but
and
MK11's a close
MK1
second.
lets you change 1 item. Usually a mask or something supremely minor, something you'd barely even notice. And the costume, well, it's called a palette, because often you're just unlocking or changing colors, applying a flame effect or whatever, at least on the material, rather than anything more meaningful. Now, yes, Mortal Kombat 11 did have palette swaps, but the majority of what you were getting, especially if you were putting the time into the challenge towers, that would get you a more bespoke looking outfit, something with, different shoulder pads, a different overall mesh, a different overall shape. You weren't just spending so much time only to get a green version of something that was formerly red. So many of the seasonal rewards for MK1 have been lackluster and boring as hell as well.
Yep.
Like I remember at the beginning, there was this whole overarching flame bundle that it was one of the many reasons that I gave up, and I think a lot of people did as well, where you were spending either real money or grinding out the premium currency.
At least
to just get
I
more
remember
red and yellow.
They were like, MK11 was all palette swaps, and in my fucking first week review of this game, I was like, guess what, dickhead? They're fucking palette swaps in this one too, and more so. All these unique skins where it has like lightning over it and shit like that, they're just overlaying the texture on pre-existing skins and adjusting hues. You know what I'm saying? Occasionally, they'll actually add some new textures like to the character's skin itself as well, and that kind of mixes it up a little bit. But are they different models? Like, they're not different models. You know what I mean? They're not different sculpts. It's the same sculpture with just a different paint job on it. And yeah, And that's most of the skins in this game. Most of the skins in this game. 9 times out of 10, it's not a new skin. It's a friggin' retexture of one. And then people will go all nuts for it. Like, oh my gosh, it's so sick. Like, the community has just dwindled so hardcore in terms of, like, what makes us happy. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like we're just a whole bunch of dirt brains now. Anyway.
Yellow-looking version of Liu Kang or whatever, and it's like, how is this from the same team of creatives that gave us so many in-depth, complex designs in MK11? Overall, Mortal Kombat 1 is just a massive letdown to this day. From its story being all over the place, wanting to be a reboot for the first half and then picking back up where MK11's DLC left off, albeit without Hiroyuki Tagawa, to the boring, unfinished feeling invasion mode that was just off-putting, running around, triggering the same fights over and over with very little reward. This mode is one of the weirdest feeling things in Mortal Kombat history, and we are talking about a property that would give us chess-based side modes.
He was talking about Fate Unknown. Fate Unknown came out in the start of Mortal Kombat saying that mode was initially called map mode, and they almost didn't get released with the game because it was so close to not being finished. So they had to grind to get that shit done, and they used AI to help them come up with items.
Really interacting with the space, it didn't feel like it was
randomized.
An enjoyable place to go. It was a very
wasn't
simple
curated
way to represent this kind of content, and I felt like so much more could have been done. Rumors from the same person, Fate Unknown, mentioned the idea of getting rid of the invasions mode and replacing it with the Towers of Time, the thing that was in MK11, as a way to maybe spruce up the approach to accessing different fighters, different modifiers for fights, and encouraging you to still, keep playing. But we're over a year since launch. If they're going to do something that big, you can argue that the time has already passed, unless there's some sort of
WhatCulture doesn't play Mortal Kombat 1, you can tell. Because they already did that. The Towers of Time replaced the Gauntlet Mesa within Invasions. If you play Mortal Kombat, you know that to be true yourself. It's not as good as Towers of Time was during MK11 in terms of showing you what your rewards would be, in terms of the events that would cycle through. It was much more curated during MK11. We had holiday events. We had character DLC events that we could get, like specialty fights, and they would have specialty modifiers attached to them. We don't really see that in this. We're not seeing holiday event towers, unfortunately. And if there are some, I haven't seen them at all. And I put a good amount of hours into Invasions. So this just kind of tells me that this person hasn't played the game since Chaos Reigns updated. And that's its most recent big update, when Chaos Reigns dropped. It was the Towers of Time edition was a part of that free stuff. Within the Towers of Time edition, they removed the Dragon Crystal cap by allowing players to earn 75 a week if they complete the mission, quest, whatever, challenge, I think they call them.
Of meaningful marketing push to remind everybody, the positives of Mortal Kombat 1. I haven't played the game in months, and it's one of those things where even though I'm a massive Mortal Kombat diehard, I'm kind of just ready to move on.
They haven't played it in months.
For
yeah,
MK13 or whatever the hell they want to call the next installment. But with future plans being cancelled and with so much, tumult happening across the board in regards to Warner Brothers, it's
Aaron Black was cool. Bring him back.
We also have, that's the thing. Last year, like I said, I'm a massive Mortal Kombat fan. I was lucky enough to interview Ed Boon. We had a really lovely conversation, albeit for only 10 minutes, but it was a nice time. And we were lucky enough to give away, the collector's edition for Mortal Kombat 1, which it was a great launch period. I just feel like when people started playing the game, Mortal Kombat 1's sustainability then fell off a cliff. I feel like most people gave up after a month or two at the most. Sales have been a shadow of Mortal Kombat 11, arguably just due to...
Well, there was also, it released without crossplay. So if your friend was on Xbox or PC and you were on PlayStation, you couldn't play with them. You could only play PlayStation to PlayStation, or Xbox to Xbox, or PC to PC. That really screwed over the game. It was that way like almost half a year later. You also couldn't tag moves. So if you're sitting there just trying to learn the game, it was 10 times harder. Without being able to tag moves, it's 10 times fucking harder. All right. And I'm a fully able person, right? So I'm able to get a notepad, write down the what the move is within the move list and like use a Post-it and just put it on my monitor. And then I can like go, okay, now I need to do that, right? I could do that. But there are some people who can't do stuff like that, maybe have mobility issues, stuff like that, that would make learning characters just that much harder by having to go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth into the move list. And trying to learn cameos, which is a new system. Trying to learn aerial combos, which is a fairly new or returnish thing. I don't remember aerial combos ever really being a thing in Mortal Kombat. So, but I barely remember MK9. You know what I mean? Those days were a haze. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I don't know, though.
The launch window hype and what comes after it, and over half the gamers still being on Xbox One or PlayStation 4.
Bro, is this real? Is this like the Mortal Kombat dragon logo? Did they decide to make the dragon? That's fucking dope, bro. That's so dope. I hope that, like, the silhouette of it is the Mortal Kombat dragon. That would be sick. I would like that a lot. I haven't even watched this story at all. All right, anyway. Sorry. All right.
And over half the gamers still being on Xbox One or PlayStation 4, where Mortal Kombat 1 is just not available. It's a next-gen only game. However, now, like I said, we're over a year since launch, and those sales numbers haven't increased, with word of mouth only turning to tell potential players to stay away instead. In a wider sense, Mortal Kombat is becoming too important for Warner Brothers, and this is one of the most important talking points. It's too obviously in the crosshairs for investors, and specifically CEO David Zaslav, who said when it comes to Warner Brothers gaming output overall, going forward, they only want to focus on 4 key pillar brands: Batman/DC, Harry Potter, Game of Thrones, and Mortal Kombat. Mortal Kombat until now was the only one of those franchises that I would say had outright love baked in. It was yet to be fully exploited by this idea of the corporate machine, this idea of betraying fan respect and fan love. Like, obviously, we can talk about the likes of...
I don't know. I don't think they milked Harry Potter that bad. It was Game of the Year last year, wasn't it? Like, I think Harry Potter fans got it good. But I think that was the last game that was good by the studio before they just started... After the merger, everything just came tumbling down. Let's be honest. The industry in itself is already super volatile, and it's super shitty how they treat its consumers. And the whole, like, status quo, or whatever the hell you call it, the whole reason that games are being made now is no longer for the love of the IP or to tell a story. It's about to milk its consumers for as much money as possible and to get already rich people even more rich. That's what the industry has become as a whole. But WBD's merger made that and that even more bad. You know, it already had sour milk, and then we got rotten meat with it too. You know, so we got a whole meal here of just infested trash.
Of Game of Thrones, the way those TV seasons went, the fact that was down to D&D, like the 2 showrunners. It didn't seem like it was an overarching Warner Brothers decision to take that thing in the direction that they did. But if we talk about the general feel around an IP, Mortal Kombat, especially going into Mortal Kombat 1, was sky high. And, you know, you can look at the likes of Gotham Knights or the handling of the Arkham franchise, the way
I keep forgetting that game was made.
The DCEU, and the way those movies have come together. A lot of the shine was taken off Batman/DC. Harry Potter.
I love the Snyder Cut.
With Hogwarts Legacy, but we haven't had any other games until then. And obviously, there's all the controversy around J.K. Rowling and the way that the movies and the TV show roll out, the whole sequel thing with the.
If you don't like J.K. Rowling,
my overall point is that
you don't have to
lose,
watch her
and
stuff.
the most money invested in its.
But trying to get other people to not
clearly. WB
weird.
zeroed in on when it comes to Mortal Kombat 1's microtransactions, and I just think that's a bit of a shame. Mortal Kombat until now was the only one of these franchises that had outright love baked in. Yes, Mortal Kombat 10 was a bit of a shakier release than the flawless victory of Mortal Kombat 9, but Mortal Kombat 11 sold over 15 million units, had outstanding art direction, a phenomenal set of revitalized fighting mechanics, and a series of modes that respected the player's time.
Mortal Kombat 11 is the 4th highest selling fighting game of all time.
Conversation reputation as respecting the fan base, respecting the people that
Super
got you
Smash
there in the
Bros.
first place.
Is the number
it's
one.
It's not like this is the first time that Mortal Kombat has bottomed out. We had a weird period for MK.
I think Street Fighter 2 is second.
For as much as something like Deception's campaign mode is beloved, MK Armageddon
I
felt
forget
like
who's
they were
third.
really running out of steam.
Maybe Tekken
making
or
the
Dragon
biggest
Ball
roster possible, reselling you the same game engine, attempting a create your own fatality, series of finishers that was incredibly underwhelming. And that led to Midway overall, various other factors included, but that led to Midway going under entirely. It was Warner Brothers who saved Midway, saved NetherRealm, saved Ed Boon, and revitalized Mortal Kombat. With
WB back then is not what it is today.
2011 being the best received Mortal Kombat since something like Deadly Alliance. And even then, Deadly Alliance
seeing
has
the
its issues.
WB logo on stuff when I was a kid used to be like, man, it just used to be like a sign of quality. I saw WB on something. I was like, bro, this Arkham game about to slap so fucking hard, bro. I love the Arkham Knight game. I don't know why people didn't like Arkham Knight. I personally think they were just hating to hate. There was a little hate train. I don't like the Batmobile. Why the fuck not, loser? What the fuck? You don't like the Batmobile, dude? And you could, like, have there were the DLC, the skins, right? Yeah, you could be, like, you could be any version of Batman and use the Batmobile from said version of Batman. I'd be riding around as Michael Keaton with the fucking 1990 whatever fucking Batmobile, dude. That shit was dope as fuck. One of the coolest times I ever had, like, playing a fucking game, bro. Like, I love that shit, dude. I absolutely love that shit.
I feel like
But yeah,
2011
now WB's logo is like a fucking shit smear on it. It's like, oh, look, there's poop. There's poop on that disc.
Mortal Kombat was the revitalized fire around the IP that they were then able to ride out for the rest of the 2010s, which, like I said, MK10
Yeah,
was a
what
little
up,
bit shaky,
Jaws?
but MK11 was a
Well,
reminder
Sunday
that,
stream is still going to
this
be
team knows exactly
happening.
what they're
We're
doing.
testing
Look at
right
this art
now
direction. Look,
because
you can
I
almost pin it
edited
down
the
to look
bit
at
rate
Scorpion.
and did a
Look
whole
how
bunch of
incredible
things.
Scorpion looks in
I took a lot of
MK11,
stuff
for
off of
example.
automation, and I did it by hand. I was getting notifications from Twitch that my bit rate was awful, and that meant that my stream was suffering. So, and in turn, viewer suffering. You having to endure, like, shitty looking stuff. So, we're doing what we can to make it the best that it can be.
Because the way
and
that
right
stuff
now
all
we're
came together across the
testing,
2010s
watching a
is
video,
what made Mortal Kombat so revitalized.
and we figured why
overall.
not just
Mortal
react
Kombat
to this
1, though,
one.
feels every bit like the product of a development affected by top-down corporate cash grabs. Money men making decisions for an IP formally guided and guarded by a veteran at the top in Ed Boon, who sadly can only do
But we
so
are still
much
going to be
against
playing Fallout
shareholder
76.
demand, and a CEO more
With
than
my
happy to minimize
stepdad.
integrity and respect to make the numbers go up. I feel like Mortal Kombat is the latest in a long line of IP being held up in this endless attempt to extract as much money as possible from as many brands as possible. And like I said, it's not like MK has this flawless history whatsoever. It clearly doesn't. There have been many positives and negatives across the last 25 plus years. But at the same time, it does take something as aggressive as a premium DLC set around a character no one was asking to be fleshed out, for this weird soft reboot that didn't go anywhere, for aggressive skin pricing models to invade so much that, it takes a veteran series of fans to go, nah, that's actually my breaking point and I'm done. And there's also the fact that we have all the guest character conversations as well. The fact that Mortal Kombat seems way more obsessed with reminding you of who they've managed to get in, whether it's Rambo or Ghostface or whoever, than it is fleshing out its own story, believing in its own characters. Because Mortal Kombat has one of the most distinct art designs in gaming history.
Here's one of the things, too. There is no direct competitor for Mortal Kombat. A lot of people think, oh, Street Fighter or Tekken. That is not true. They play so differently. The only actual competitor to Mortal Kombat is Injustice, and that's built within the same fucking studio. So why... We need a competitor. We need a proper 2D fighter, like Eternal Championship or something. Become something. You know what I'm saying? There's that, like, action figure looking fighter that's supposed to come out maybe summer of 2025. But, we don't know, one, if that's really going to be that good or if it just looks good. And, we just don't know. We just don't know about that. We can't be sure about that. But I think something like Eternal Champions or championship, whatever it was, something like that to come through to challenge NRS, because right now they just have the monopoly in this market. They really do. They don't have to worry about anybody else coming in and replacing them. They did, I feel so bad this time that people started leaving to go to Street Fighter. People started leaving to go to Tekken. But those same people came right back to Mortal Kombat when they ended up getting tired of getting beat up in a game they didn't understand. Or they just didn't like the animation style of it. That's always what kept me away and kept me towards Mortal Kombat, was the semi-realistic look to the movement and to the effects and everything. It was a little bit more grounded in realism than like Street Fighter. It's just sparking lights. Or Marvel vs. Capcom was like the worst one, in my opinion. It's like so bright, like the screen's covered half the time with flashing lights. I'm just like, bro, what the fuck is even happening? And then like Tekken is like, you look at the inputs in Tekken, there's like a star sitting there. It's like, what the fuck is the star for, bro? There's no star on my controller, and you're not telling me what the star is. Fuck that game. Okay, so like, there's no real competitor for Mortal Kombat. There needs to be one, though. There really does. So they can, like, feel like they need to kick it in gear.
Believing in its own characters, because Mortal Kombat has one of the most distinct art designs in
also,
gaming.
Okay, in terms of what he was talking about with the DLC, I think a lot of the DLC characters, if you look at them individually, the guest characters are pretty decent. When you look at them as an accumulative whole, I don't know. It's very superhero-y. I felt like that was more than likely meant for Injustice. They probably had those lined up for Injustice, and then they were like, let's just run them into Mortal Kombat. Although each one of those characters work better in Mortal Kombat, in my opinion, than in Injustice, because they're like the R-rated comic characters. So it's hard to tell. But the thing is that the guest characters that we've been getting over the previous iterations, the previous games, have been things people have been wanting since they were a child. You know what I mean? A child. But the things that we're getting now is more like people didn't know about them 5 years ago or 7 years ago. And so people didn't grow up with it. Like all the old heads, that the majority that play Mortal Kombat, they're not sitting there going like, oh yeah, I love this or whatever. Ghostface is an okay one. You get a horror icon in there, cool. And he plays well. Right? That's cool. Voiced by the guy. Great. Two of the ghosts under Ghostface are actually previous Mortal Kombat characters. Genius. Makes it more than just a guy with a knife, Makes it make sense. All that shit is great. But I think there's just like Spawn. People wanted Spawn in Mortal Kombat to happen since the 90s. You know what I mean? That people imagined that, did fan art of that, drawing, Scorpion versus Spawn on a plain white sheet of paper in the living room, sitting crisscross applesauce with a box of crayons. Anyway.
History, the likes of
I just feel like they didn't have the impact that previous iterations guest characters did.
Recognizable and incredibly beloved because of how much confidence was always in that original style. Something that I would say clashes with the way Mortal Kombat 1 presents itself, where all of a sudden you're into multiversal, MCU, Disney-style overarching approaches to storytelling that, yes, again, Mortal Kombat has done bits and pieces of in the past, but never so overtly super heroic, never so overtly chasing that sort of MCU dollar in a way, or at least that's how it felt. And that's also, referring to a story mode that ends incredibly abruptly, assumedly to then sell you this follow-on premium story DLC that a lot of people just bounce off because of how threadbare it was. To me, NetherRealm missed the opportunity to bring back the Dragon King Onaga, who a lot of fans were asking for. I still feel like you could do a Mortal Kombat centered around Onaga. But that whole conversation around guest characters, how much they cost, whether the monetization side of things is linked to trying to bring in increasingly bigger gets in regards to wider franchises, that's a whole thing that they need to figure out. I feel like overall the conversation is on what is the lifeblood of Mortal Kombat. Is it the guest characters? Is it the new age stuff? Is it just the gore?
This might be controversial. I would rather see them make a new character and put them in as DLC and introduce them into Mortal Kombat that way than have more guest characters. Personally, I would rather see some cool, unique thing that they had the whole sandbox. They could do whatever they wanted to with a new character We didn't get any new characters in Mortal Kombat 1. Collector, new character. Cetrion, new character. Garrus, new character. We got new characters during MK11. We got characters we got to explore. Now, you always have those people bitching like, why do we have the Collector? Why do we have Cetrion in here when Kara isn't in the game or whatever else? Like, I'm sorry, we can't put everyone in every single fucking game. And some of them deserve to be in games, you know, but like also it must feel nice to be able to get a little creative with it and not put yourself into a box, you know? And I wish that they would have done that in MK1.
Are there ways to make those things work? Is it the mini games? Is it the spin-offs? You know, we have mini games, like I said before, like chess and kart racing, and spin-offs like Mortal Kombat Shaolin Monks. When I was lucky enough to
they should do a Mortal Kombat pinball side game.
Shaolin Monks revival, and he was up for it. He said that the idea of a new Shaolin Monks should be done bigger than ever. They should do a proper co-op game, something you can play online, something like that, because they didn't just want to bring back the original title and, you know, sort of sell it that way. They wanted to do more with that original framework, which is the same thing that was confirmed to be happening back in 2019 with the re-releases of the original trilogy, the original 90s games. There were screenshots leaked for that in terms of what the reskin of those games would have looked like, but the project was shut down, assumedly because of the need to push towards the next big game, the next main game, and get the likes of what would become Mortal Kombat 1 over the finish line. I feel like where we're at right now, Mortal Kombat is in an extremely precarious place. You're also talking about veterans like Ed Boon who have been doing this for decades of their own life, and it's very easy for someone in a forced, unfortunate position to just step off the rung instead.
Okay, well, that's almost the end of that video there. We're going to leave that there. So just so everybody knows, we were testing the stream. I went into advanced mode, and I watched it for hours, and I fixed the bit rate. So everything should be running smoothly. Everything should be looking a lot better. We added so much stuff within the stream itself, but I also have to fix stuff behind the scenes. We got a new plug-in for our multicast, our multi-stream. We're going to be able to do vertical streams as well, which is going to be really good. We might switch the YouTube live streams over to vertical streams because it's just a lot more people. A lot more traffic will come through that way. Anyway, this was a test. We wanted to kind of stress test it a little bit, right? I really wanted to see how this could handle us watching a video while we recorded, and I have DVR and everything on my camera, which it's handled it actually really well. Khan says, here's something I don't think people remember. We got original characters in MK11. We got amazing guests like Spawn and Joker. I love Spawn. Spawn is one of my favorite fictional characters of all time. Yeah, that's my roommate got that for me before she was even my roommate. They were roommates. Anyway, yeah. So I'm going to end the stream, but I'm going to start back up in about 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and we're going to be playing Fallout 76 with my stepdad, just like we did last week. We're going to be starting off where we left off. I haven't touched the game since, but yeah, we got to end the stream, make sure everything's still Gucci. I appreciate y'all coming in and checking it out. We are going to make this section a part of a YouTube video of reacting to this WhatCulture video regarding Mortal Kombat 1. We are going to make that a video on its own. So if you want to say hi to YouTube, you are more than welcome to, because your chat will be visible within that video. All right. We're going to end it soon. I'm going to end it soon. And I'm not going to end it how we normally end it with the stream outro and all that. We're going to save that for later, okay? That's for the end of the day. This isn't the end of the day. This is just bye-bye for right now, okay? Bye-bye for right now. All right? Well, peace to the peace, people. Much love. I'm ZacsNotDead everywhere. You can find me almost everywhere. Follow, like, subscribe. If you liked the video, share it with somebody who might also like it. Also, check out WhatCulture's video, and you can see it all without its interruptions on its page itself. All right, I have to go. Peace to the peace, people. Drew, you just came in, but we will be back in about 10 minutes, all right? All right, y'all. All right, peace. Hey, Big Texas Gravy, appreciate you hanging out, dog. Appreciate you.